Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into some really fascinating source material that breaks down LandLimited's unique approach to real estate. Our main goal here is to unpack exactly how their model lets you acquire raw land without slamming into those traditional and, let's be honest, totally exhausting banking roadblocks that stop so many people dead in their tracks. I want you to seriously think about that for a second. Imagine you finally find it, that absolute perfect parcel of land. Maybe it's a quiet acre with the stunning mountain view, or maybe it's that off-grid retreat deep in the woods you've literally been dreaming about for years. You go to secure it and bam, you hit a massive financial wall. The bank just says no. It's an incredibly common frustration, and frankly, it's a heartbreaking one for aspiring landowners. But what if you could just completely bypass that hurdle? What if the bank wasn't even part of the equation? Well, to get why this is such a game changer, we kind of have to look at the traditional route. Conventional banks look at raw, undeveloped land and they basically just see a giant flashing high-risk sign. Because there isn't a house already sitting on it, lenders typically demand this insurmountable list of requirements. They want massive down payments, they demand pristine credit scores, and honestly, a lot of times they won't even play ball unless you already have a structure built, or you have a ton of equity in other assets, or a highly detailed business plan. Essentially, the whole system is rigged to block the average buyer from ever securing their dream property. Okay, so let's pivot to the alternative. The source material outlines LandLimited's approach, which operates on a totally different philosophy. According to the text, their whole structure is specifically designed to remove these financial gatekeepers. The stated goal here is prioritizing access and simplicity, basically making the frontier accessible to everyday people, not just a select few. The secret sauce driving this whole thing is a concept called owner financing. Sometimes you'll hear it called seller financing. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a transaction where the seller of the property literally acts as the bank. So instead of you going to some third-party lender, filling out a mountain of paperwork to take out a mortgage, you just make your payments directly to the seller. No third-party lender and blissfully, no miles of red tape. When you put these two models side by side, it's honestly kind of night and day. On the traditional bank side, you're looking at really rigid demands, steep down payments, strict credit checks, and literally months waiting on underwriting, which, if you don't know, is just the bank's extremely tedious process of verifying your entire financial existence. Owner financing, on the other hand, relies on flexible down payments, a relationship built on mutual trust, and the ability to close in days. Days, not months. Let's actually break down the major benefits of this approach. Benefit 1, no banks, no hassle. Look, by completely removing the bank from the equation, you eliminate the committees and the rigid bureaucracy. It makes approval simple. And speaking of simple, let's talk about the down payment. Traditional mortgages, they're usually going to demand a staggering 20 to 30% in cash upfront just for raw land. That is a massive barrier to entry. The source notes that owner financing directly tackles this by offering flexible terms that are actually tailored to fit your specific budget. There's this one quote from the text that totally hit the nail on the head for me. We recognize that a credit score is just a number. It does not define your commitment or your ability to steward a property. That ethos right there is huge. It means no crazy credit check hurdles. Now, they do review applications for sure, but the financing program is fundamentally built on mutual trust. They aren't letting a generic 3-digit number stand in the way of your vision. And then, of course, there's the speed. Fast closings, because you aren't stuck waiting around for third-party bank appraisals or, waiting for a loan officer to get back from their vacation. Transactions close in a fraction of the time. You skip all that agonizing waiting and can actually secure your property in a matter of days, which means you can start mapping out your homestead or planning your development almost immediately. Let's move on to the mechanics, a rugged and honest process. The source breaks this whole thing down into a super straightforward 5-step life cycle. Find the property, select your terms, draft the docs, make payments, and get the title. Let's look at each of these steps just a bit closer so you can see how this actually plays out in the real world. Step 1, obviously, is finding your property. The text emphasizes that LandLimited acts as an investor here. They actually own the properties in their inventory. We're talking tracts everywhere from the remote wilderness of Alaska's Matsu Borough down to Northern California and the Colorado interior. And because they own them, it means every single parcel has been personally vetted by their team out in the field. Steps 2 and 3 are all about total transparency. Once you find the property that fits your vibe, you actually get to choose the financing term that works best for you. The documentation is drafted to be easily understood. No gotcha clauses, no hidden fees. You get clear disclosures about your monthly payments, the length of the term, and the total cost, the whole shebang. You know exactly where you stand right from day one.
Now, step 4 is making your payments. And honestly, this is the part I find the most compelling. While you're making your payments on a schedule that works for you, you're completely free to use and visit the land immediately. You do not have to wait years until you make that final payment to pitch a tent and start enjoying your property. It's yours to experience right away.
Finally, getting the title. The way the legal mechanics work here is pretty clever because it protects both sides. During the payment period, LandLimited retains the legal title. Then, for step 5, once that final payment clears and the agreed-upon terms are met, the property is 100% yours. They work with you to finalize the deed transfer, officially recording your ownership. It's just a really clean, straightforward conclusion to the whole process.
Which brings us to the application. Who is owner financing actually for?
The source points out 3 distinct types of folks who really thrive with this setup. First, you've got the first-time investor, someone trying to avoid crushing bank loan limits just to get their foot in the door. Second is the off-grid visionary, the person who wants to secure their future homestead right now. And third, the legacy builder. This is someone acquiring land specifically to pass down to their family, and they're paying for that legacy over time. Ultimately, what we're talking about here is securing a truly tangible, enduring asset. Whether you're hunting for solar-ready acreage, a recreational weekend retreat, or just a solid, long-term hedge against inflation, land ownership offers incredible freedom. And according to the material, using owner financing is a phenomenal way to bypass those traditional gatekeepers and actually achieve your real estate goals. So it really leaves us with this one big question. Are you going to let traditional banking requirements dictate what you can and can't do with your future? Or is it time to actually explore the frontier? That's what the source leaves us to chew on. The alternative is out there, just waiting for those with the vision to go after it. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.